Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Nepal, the landlocked country between India and China, is of crucial importance to India. And India has a long historical association. As a matter of fact, at one time, India was responsible for the defense and the foreign policy of Nepal. But that didn't continue for a long time. The most impact had a destabilizing influence, and Nepal, some units started having desire. One of them was Prachanda, Pushpa Kamal Dahal, popularly known as Prachanda, who was the leader of the most rebellion in the times of monarchy. And the elevation of Prachanda as Prime Minister, as a leader of the left-led coalition, after a fractured mandate in November, wasn't entirely a surprise, but it was a shock. And it can pose a number of problems for India. This fractured election returned a hung parliament at the center and a hung assemblies in all the 7 provinces of Nepal. Although the 2 largest parties had envisaged prior to the poll that they would not fare well and would need an alliance with the smaller parties, reminds me of what happened in Israel. And in the country's second election since becoming a republic, this has been the norm. And this is not a happy norm. The situation as it is worsening, and the leftists are becoming much more powerful. Even the president is leftist. Now, India had been given support to national leader Sher Bahadur Debua in their joint 2021 project to oust the Communist Party under the Prime Ministership of Sharma at that time. And then Prachanda, who was one of the persons, walked out as he was denied the Prime Ministership. And it was clear that the return of this man would be a problem as soon as the result came in. Prime Minister Modi was the first one to congratulate Prachanda, but that was more a matter of statesmanship. The same day, high-level security meetings were taking place. And it was very clear that Debua made an effort to retain him on his side, but this could not be negotiated, and the result was Prachanda becoming the Prime Minister. Now, the result of this is, because they are short of majority in the 275-member lower house, they had to lure Rashtriya Subtantra Party, the Royalist Prajatantra Party, and the Madhe-based National Party under Sher Bahadur Debua. And Sher Bahadur Debua became the largest unit, the largest single party, and yet the Prime Ministership eluded him because of the greed of the people and the pressure of the Mois. The President, the Vice President, and the House Speaker today, along with the Prime Minister, are die-hard Mois. Now, with that, 4 people at the top being Mois and pro-China would be a problem. The best case scenario today is that Prachanda's ally, KP Oli, is also pro-China, but because both are pro-China, Prachanda would like to undercut Oli. It's 14 years since monarchy was overthrown. And Prachanda has been Prime Minister 3 times. He was responsible for most uprising in Nepal for more than 10 years before becoming a political leader. And there was an electoral life. Prachanda's main demand is to be in power. Who sustains him, whether it's China or India, is none of his avowed concerns. But his experience with India has not been happy. And the result is that the Communist Party of Nepal and only the Communist Party of Nepal are allies, and their bond is stronger than the unified Marxist-Leninist party. Now see, all the 4 major political parties are Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, Communist. And the smaller parties are challenging 78 seats, Maoist Centre 32 seats, and only one party is a pro-monarchy party, Rajtantra Party. So this creates a problem because Indian Army's major component comes from Gorkhas. And already the question of Agniveer was raised. Now Debwa is stubborn and they have criticized India for their active involvement in Nepal's transition from monarchy to a republic. If Debwa had become the Prime Minister, the things would have been a very different thing. And his re-election, on the other hand, was predicated, but it didn't happen. Now, as soon as the results were delivered, the US and the Indian ambassadors both met Debwa and Prachanda, and they were hoping that this alliance would last. Now, both the prime ambassadors of USA and India meeting the Prime Minister-elect shows the concern these countries have because of the impending impact of presidency. Nepal has connections at the borders with 5 Indian states. So don't forget that. And if Nepal gives permission to China, the PLA, People's Liberation Army of China, can simply march into 5 states with which China doesn't have a border, but Nepal has. So the China issue is troubling the Defense Ministry and the Home Ministry. Beijing's most prominent ambassador in Nepal, Hao Yangki, left this year, and there is no Chinese ambassador. And Hao was instrumental in fortifying Oli and Prachanda's Communist alliance in 2018, which ultimately disintegrated 4 years later. But then came the other ambassador, Chen Song. He has been there earlier as well, but he is now coming after Prachanda takes the oath. Now, Brahm Samanpun, the General Secretary of the Maoist Party and the long-term supporter of the alliance of the Communist parties, has recently returned from China. He had apparently gone for medical treatment, but real purpose was to convey the messages. He has been given a brief in China, and President Bidya Devi Bhandari has maintained constant contact with the Chinese diplomats and other top officials. So the president of the country is already in a close contact. The new ambassador who has come, Song. So this problem is going to face India. Now, what are the India's objectives? Debwa as India's representative or as a Prime Minister would have been ideal. According to Delhi, Oli is pro-China, and the formation of the government by the communist forces is a step backward. And this is especially bad since Indo-Nepal relations have deteriorated during Oli's administration from 2015 to 2016, and then again from 2018 to 21. But they improved after Debord took office in 2021. So this is the problem. Oli is going to be the major player, and his prime ministership at that time and now his mouthpiece prime ministership are going to be dangerous, and there is going to be a slide down in the relationship. However, the other aspect is that since 2005 India has been sporting in many ways Prachanda. So much so that when he was removed from office in 2016, they gave him help. On the other hand, Oli's influence over Prachanda will have an immediate impact on bilateral relations. When Prachanda visited Delhi earlier this year, Modi declined to meet him. And these people keep rancor in mind. It was quite an insult. He visited and he was not in power, and this was a mistake. Just 2 months before that, Duba had come and he was given a red carpet treatment. So one of the major concerns of Delhi should be the fate of the Wet City hydropower project. This hydro project is going to be a major issue. It was awarded to India by Duba government, and the decision has been challenged by Oli. So uncertain alliances and impending problems are going to be there. Nepal had 33 governments in 32 years since becoming a parliamentary democracy. 32 years, 33 prime ministers. And the formation of the new Prachanda-led Prachanda-Oli coalition will be the first test would be Indian relationship. And then the election to the president and the vice president is also due in March. Would the present trend of pro-China continue, especially given the partisan role these people had played? Then there is another problem. The Millennium Challenge Corporation was given $500 million as infrastructure pledge. Would the new administration continue to accept it? Because that infrastructure pledge has a certain hidden security agenda as well. And that's why the American ambassador met him. So India's hydropower project, America's infrastructure project, both are in jeopardy. And China has been working to unite various communist parties, factions in the region. So India has to keep a close eye on the developments. Prachanda understands the significance of Indo-Nepal ties. But what would be his reaction after his insult, perceived insult, earlier this year when Modi refused to meet him? We have to prioritize. Now, India has to prioritize all connections, including those related to connectivity and energy security. There has been a huge political churn in Nepal. And the new government is urban-focused, youthful political forces. The border dispute between India and Nepal came into being when Oli was the Prime Minister. But Kathmandu is aware that Sri Lanka suffered as a result of Beijing's BRI loan. Now he takes the same plea that if we take loan from US and from India, then our condition would be the same as that of Sri Lanka was. So it's quite interesting to see how the new relationship would take place. But China is working hard to increase its influence. And Nepal, especially Prachanda, is critical to India's overall strategic interest. He refers to India as a roti-beti relationship. But as I said, the border of the five states Sikkim, West Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand is putting the security of the country and the security of the borders in a very, very precarious position. India signed a treaty of peace and friendship in 1950. If that can be sustained, it will be good. But Prachanda stated very clearly in July when he came to India, and he was insulted, that in order to realize the potential of the bilateral cooperation, India must address some left by history issues diplomatically. So he has thrown the ball in the court of India. He agrees that treaty is very useful. And then there's a report, Eminent Persons Report, EPG. It was established a few years ago. And Nepal is asking for a review of the agreement, that treaty. If you remember, in 2020, Kathmandu has published a new political map in which 3 Indian cities were shown as a part of Nepal. So the relations became very strained. India was outraged, calling it a unilateral act. So no matter which government takes power in Kathmandu, bilateral ties have to remain strong. The two countries' cultural, economic and social proximity has to be preserved. I happened to talk to Dr.Lamba, a former Nepalese ambassador to India. And he says that yes, Nepal has issues in India. But all these issues, including the border issues, can be resolved. They are not insurmountable. But we need open diplomacy. And that's what Modi has to take action. Luckily, the foreign minister is a career diplomat and he understands these positions. But India's concerns are deep and important, and they need to be addressed without compromising either the sovereignty or the territorial integrity of India. Thank you.